America's Supreme Court just overturned Roe versus Wade. Absolutely historic. Sadly, Israel loosened their abortion restrictions in response. Today, we're going to take a hard look at abortion in Israel and why it's so important. Make sure you watch till the end because the outlook might be a little bit brighter than what you're thinking right now.
Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of fake news, you should connect to the true and authentic stories of Israel. Guys, if you have not yet subscribed, go ahead and do that. And also, don't forget, we've got daily shows coming out. Don't miss those. Super great content coming out every day of the week. Don't miss it.
One of which is also actually coming out on the YouTube channel on Monday. So Mondays and Thursdays now, you get to look forward to a video from the Israel Guys. Guys, make sure to subscribe. And if you're not following us on social media, go over there and do that. We have links down below, but it's just the Israel Guys, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You got to subscribe and follow us on all of those. And by the way, don't forget, if you want to join us for a trip to Israel this fall, you need to go and check them out and sign up as soon as possible because time is running out to sign up. Trips start first week of September. You can go to serveisrael.com to check out all of the options. Okay. Everybody knows United States Supreme Court historically, I believe it's been 50 years, right? Overturned Roe versus Wade and a historic ruling that is in favor of pro-life, in favor of life for babies. And by the way, just to start off, you guys know we're Christian Zionists. We follow the Bible. And just so you know, our stance is 100% pro-life and 100% against abortion, okay? So in response to the Supreme Court's decision, sadly, Israel actually loosened abortion restrictions. And it's actually, it's sort of in response, but the health minister, which is from the far left Meretz party, Nitzan Horowitz, he's had this plan in place since December 2021 because hasn't been any abortion laws passed or loosened or anything like that since 1977. So he's been trying to work on new legislation that would loosen restrictions for abortion here in Israel since for about 6 months now, but they did loosen some restrictions and which basically these changes are, and we'll tell you what it's been like for the last 30 years, but basically right now the new whatever you call it, loosening of the restrictions allows women access to abortion pills, no longer requires them to appear before and get approval from a committee to get an abortion. And instead, they just have to submit a digital application, and they only have to go up for approval to a committee if that first application is denied. Rarely actually happens, okay? But first of all, a lot of stuff in the news. I'm sure it's not just Israel. I'm sure it's all over the world, but here in Israel, a lot of media attention after the Roe versus Wade ruling.
Luke, we wanted to talk about this today because both of us are so pro-life. We're so pro-children. We love children, and we want to see just more children in the world. And this is a complex.
I have 5 children, by the way. You have 3 children.
Yeah, I got 3. Yeah, we come from.
We haven't been married that long either, so we like children.
Luke, what I want to talk about is the war. There's a war for life. There's a war for you know what? And there's so many evils in the world. There's so many things that are attacking. In America, we have a good and an evil, and they're in the government. This is like a fight in the government that we're having. Let me tell you guys, Israel is also in the same battle. Israel faces leftist ideologies and thoughts of how the world should run and conservative, right-wing thoughts and how things should run in the world. And sometimes there's a win for a leftist worldview, and sometimes there's a win for a conservative right-wing worldview. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing we're seeing in America, the same thing we're seeing across the world. And so what the intent of this is to tell you guys what's happening, not so that you can bash Israel. Just go ahead and throw that out right now. Yep. This is not so that you can bash Israel. A lot of people, I know, they talk about, Israel's abortion industry. It's horrible. But this is not for you to bash Israel. There's a rules in the Bible about how we speak about Israel, how we talk about Israel, and bashing is not included in there. We're to support and to strengthen and bless Israel to pursue the good path. Now, we 100% can agree that abortion is evil and not good, but we're not going to bash Israel. We're going to come alongside and help. And we're going to give you a way. Stay with us. We're going to give you a way that you can actually help. Luke, I want to look at the headlines in Israel. Let's call it the woke. the leftist worldview. Headlines in Israel, probably the most extreme, I would say the most extreme leftist paper in Israel says, quote, this is Haaretz. A welcome change on abortion.
The New York Times of Israel.
Yeah, basically. Sorry. Yeah. A welcome change on abortion. Still far from making Israel an enlightened country. Continuing, a change in regulation is a start. But unless Israel stops being governed by religion, it will remain an unenlightened and paternalistic state that treats women as nothing more than vessels for children. This is the headline in Israel just, I believe, yesterday as things came out here. Now, what I want to talk about is this. We use words, Luke, and this is such a problem. Conservatives have a big issue here. The leftist world has this thing about getting words and twisting them. They got this down pat. There's this, I want to talk about this because this is an issue. There's this persuasion table. They're persuading the world of something so drastically evil, but they call it enlightened.
Right.
They call it progressive.
Which all sounds good. I mean, those are good words. Like
pro-choice.
Who doesn't want to be pro-choice, enlightened, progressive? Like, who does not want to be those things? If you break it down strictly to strip it down strictly to those words.
Right. There's a problem here because actually, when they're talking, there's the persuasion table has it that verbal is actually only 5%. There's 95% of what communications that are actually not the verbal, and so there's all this backing. And then this is more significant. Rational is only 7%. What we're talking about here.
You're saying
is
rational people make only 7% of even rational.
Yeah, it's rational
decision
thought.
making is based off of verbal.
That gives you
communication.
93% non-rational. So when we're talking about literally murdering of babies, this is a really non-rational concept that the world has chosen to create as something that's progressive and is going to push us farther down the road in a better world. Guys, it's completely on its head. It's awful. But this is kind of the world we're living in right now, when they're able to change the meaning of a word and able to create something that's absolutely opposite of what it is. And I mean, we talk about the Israel guys here.
Right.
Israel is proof in the pudding of that. Leftist media flipping what the truth is on its head and creating an absolute lie. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Liberals, even the word liberal sounds better. You're more giving.
Right.
You're liberal. You're able to give and then conservative. What? You're tight. You're like a you're the terminologies are unfortunately geared in a way that the positive is not always positive. It's flipped. It's backwards. So this is in view of what we'll be talking about today. This is a good way to understand where we're headed and how to decipher our times.
Josh, I want to talk about the history of abortion in Israel and get into a little bit of the facts and statistics and where we are. And you're going to want to stick around to the end because there is some encouraging things and the prospects are definitely brighter than what you're probably thinking right now. But first, Josh, do you know what a VPN is?
Yeah, this is the most famous thing right now in this world of takeover that anybody could have. You've got to have a VPN to protect yourself from leftist wokeism that wants to take hold of every bit of your information.
Okay, so we have a sponsor for today's video, and we want to let you guys know, we're getting into the world of sponsorships. We don't just take on sponsors, okay? We test products. We make sure that's something that we can back and get behind. So we don't just take any old product, somebody that sends us our money. This is a product we tested out, okay? Atlas VPN, a virtual private network that makes all of your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel, okay? Because it's going to sound a little confusing, but I'll explain it here in a second. It protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, and hides your IP address and your online activities. You can even set your devices, phones, tablets, computers, whatever you're on, to use a virtual location so that you're protected. Basically, if you're on the internet, you can protect yourself from scammers, hackers, identity theft, passwords, private information, credit card numbers, things like that, social security. And today's sponsor, Atlas VPN, is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month. That is like nothing. And they even have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time's running out, so you want to click the link in the description below if you want to protect yourself and take advantage of this massive, massive discount. It's $1.99 a month if you sign up for the 3-year subscription. if you lock your doors at night, if you have like an alarm system or security system on your house, maybe you have a fence around your backyard, maybe you don't let your children play outside the fence because you want them to be where they're protected. That's just like having a VPN, and Atlas VPN even protects you from like data breaches, okay? So if someone's trying to steal your email account or your passwords or private information, credit cards, social security, they can even watch out for you for all of that stuff. If any of your private, sensitive information is compromised or exposed, Atlas VPN takes care of it for you. Again, this is a product that we've tried, we've tested, we've got it here in the office, we're using it, and it's something that we decided we could get behind. So, running a massive discount right now. Again, if you sign up for 3-year subscription, it's only $1.99 a month. So click the link in the description below and take advantage of Atlas VPN so you can get yourself digitally protected. It's the world we live in, and you have to do it. Okay, I want to talk about the history of abortion in Israel. It was actually illegal until 1977. Abortion laws here are complicated and a little bit controversial, and people on both sides of the issue do not like them. I guess that's kind of the way it is, even in the United States. But liberals are not happy, and conservatives are not happy. Okay, in 1977, it was legalized, but there was supposed to be very strict like regulations put around them. Sadly, it's from what I understand, it's not difficult to get around some of those regulations. Yeah. And I read a couple of things that people of organizations that believe there's a lot of illegal abortions happening in Israel. There hasn't been any new laws, though, passed until this week since 1977, except for like some updates in 2014. Okay, so here's the regulations that are supposed to happen for abortion. A approval must be gotten from a pregnancy termination committee, of which there are 40 of these committees in Israel. The committees are 3 people, 2 doctors, a social worker. One of the people on the committee, at least one, has to be a woman, and they're based out of the hospitals, which is also where the abortions have to be performed. Abortion clinics are illegal.
Right.
I believe there are, like, from what I've read, there are some illegal abortions happening outside of hospitals, but in general, like, abortion clinics are not allowed to be built. It's actually illegal to build abortion clinics here. What is the criteria to meet approval to get an abortion from this committee? It's things like if the woman is younger than 18 or older than 40, if a woman is unmarried or the pregnancy is not from the marriage, if it's pregnancy is the result of illegal or incestuous relations, or if they think the child is going to be born with physical or mental birth defect, or if continuing the pregnancy will harm the mother, or if they think it will. And they're only these committees are only allowed to authorize abortions up to 24 weeks. You will read that abortion is allowed up till full term, but it's supposed to only be under very, very strict circumstances, because if it's more than 24 weeks, it has to go to another special approval committee, and it's supposed to be under very strict guidelines. Sadly, and this is according to Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics, 98% of requests are immediately approved. And from what I understand, these committees are just overloaded with applications. So what has happened this week with loosening the regulations that are happening here is that instead of having to actually go physically to a hospital, go before these 3 people that are on a committee, explain why you want an abortion, and then they approve it, now I think you just have to submit an application online, and if it keeps going like it is, 98%, 99% of them are going to be approved. If they don't approve it, then they'll call you in and talk to you, and probably still going to approve it. So I want to talk about now the good and the bad, because yes, there is good. And like we said, we're 100% pro-life, so this is in no way diminishing the horrendous abortion industry anywhere in the world, really. I mean, especially here in Israel. So we're not diminishing any of that. But you guys know us, like we're constantly trying to find the good in things and to find the light at the end of the tunnel and find the bright prospect in order to encourage you to come and stand alongside Israel. So this is,
and if there's a problem, we can help. We can fix it. Let's work to help Israel become more pro-life.
And we've never said that Israel is perfect and it's a secular nation, but we're always bringing the good out of Israel. And that's what the 12 spies did, right? Yeah. They brought the 10 spies brought the bad report, 2 spies brought the good report. So that's always what we're trying to do.
Yeah. There's two organizations here that are pro-choice. And again,
well, there's more than two, I'm sure, but two of
the
main ones. Yeah.
These organizations, though, Luke, again, it's this wording and the way you say things and makes people think positive things, but this is really horrendous. You've got these organizations that are promoting the death of children. Basically, that's what that means. Right. Killing children before they're born. And then you have their names are Choose Well and Open Door.
Which I think Open Door is basically like Planned Parenthood in the U.S.
The wording would make you think something different, but look, this is the fruit of what they're attempting. Right. The education they're bringing is to create.
Going back to the words like you were talking about.
Accepted.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So this is
even Planned Parenthood. It could sound like something good.
Sounds okay. Yeah. But this is really unfortunate that this is the facts on the ground here, that these kind of organizations are bringing such really bad family laws promoting really horrendous family aspects here.
And part of the reason why they just loosen restrictions is because the far left party, Meretz, has control of the health ministry in Israel. Nitzan Horowitz is the health minister, and he's spearheading efforts to loosen abortion restrictions. The good news is elections have been called for end of October, and Nitzan Horowitz is not going to be the health minister.
Well, they're probably not even going to make it in the government at all. They're probably going to be
that's what I'm saying. I mean, we would pretty commonly say he's probably most likely not going to be the health minister after that.
The most leftist party in Israel that's responsible
for
this act is probably not going to make it into the government whatsoever. They're going to be and this would be historic because the party has been in the government for years and used to be the leading party. And that leftist ideology that they carry in the party is probably going to be completely nixed from the government, which the government that's coming up, and this is the good news that you guys can all hope and pray towards this direction, is that this conservative government that most likely will be brought in at the October elections is going to reverse, Lord willing, all of these laws that are being put in place now.
So that's a prayer
it's not
point,
acceptable in a traditional, religious, Jewish, Orthodox framework. Family is respected, life is valued. So in a government that has this, hopefully all these things will be reversed come October.
So I was gonna to just kind of to go over the bad parts here, and obviously the bad parts are that abortion is legal in Israel.
Yeah.
But the bad, some of the aspects of that, there are big pro-choice organizations that operate here, similar to Planned Parenthood in the U.S. Obviously, they're fighting for better, I don't know, you can't say better, looser abortion laws, right? The health minister is a very left-wing minister who's spearheading these efforts. And another, in the IDF, because everybody goes through mandatory service in the IDF, the IDF actually funds free abortions for women, up to 2 or 3 abortions. So those are some of the horrible, awful things that are happening. But I do want to bring out the silver lining, I guess, in this, and the brighter prospects.
The restrictions. Where are the restrictions? Is it good?
There are some restrictions. So basically, unlike some states in the U.S., you can't just get in your car, drive to an abortion clinic, and get an abortion without talking to someone, meeting criteria. So that's one good thing. We talked about there haven't been any pro-abortion laws passed since 1977 until now. And like we said, in a few months, we're going to have a new government here in Israel, and hopefully we'll see some pro-life laws passed and maybe some of these pro-choice laws overturned. Late-term abortions, although they do happen, are pretty rare, and late-term is considered after 24 weeks, and they make up less than 2% of all the abortions in Israel. Another interesting thing to note, and again, this is not to downplay the horribleness of abortion, but is that abortion rates have actually been declining for more than 30 years because Israel has been growing as a country, but the abortion rates have not been growing with their natural growth. So the numbers have stayed pretty similar to the same every year. But Israel has been massively growing. Obviously, they're a country of immigration and Jewish people making aliyah, and thankfully, those abortion numbers have not been growing with the population. So that's a good thing. And then the best part is that there are massive pro-life organizations here in Israel. Maybe we'll put some links down in the description below so you guys can check them out. And these pro-life organizations have a mission. One of them is Be'ad Chaim. Their mission is to, quote, end abortion and to preserve life in Israel by offering viable alternatives to abortion, resources for mothers in need, pregnancy counseling, as well as education initiatives. Be'ad Chaim has petitioned the Supreme Court to ban abortion after 24 weeks completely, so they're actively working just to obliterate abortion completely in the land. Josh, you met another organization that is probably another one of the prominent ones.
It's fascinating
here.
because I didn't realize this was going to be happening in Israel, and just last
we didn't
week,
plan this. Yeah,
I was invited by a friend to come and see the work of Efrat, and Efrat is an incredible work that saved
not the
town, the actual organization. Efrat has saved over 80,000 babies. They go in and they say, mother is having a hard time. She doesn't know what she wants to do. And they come in and they bring assistance. They just say they help. They bring what she needs. So they need diapers. They bring diapers. So you need a crib. We'll bring a crib. And then the daily, it's just stuff that a mom would need. Underprivileged homes where they just don't have, right? There's no reason to get an abortion because there's Efrat. And Efrat comes alongside these families that say they're having financial difficulties and they want to end a pregnancy because of that. They come alongside them and they walk them through. The whole first 2 years are covered with Efrat. They come in and just walk right there with that family, that husband and that wife. They walk them through and they provide the whatever it is, baby food to diapers to crib, like I said. So there's an incredible organization. I toured their facility. They're well worth supporting. And this is what I'm talking about, guys, when I'm talking about getting involved. Don't go and bash Israel. There's a positive that can be done. Go and do the positive. If you're not a monthly contributor if you're a pro-life person and you're not contributing to Israel on a weekly, monthly basis to pro-life work, then you're not doing the right thing. If you're pro-life, don't be bashing Israel about its anti-life stance in abortion. Go and join the efforts to change the tide. And these organizations really are changing, facts on the ground here in Israel. 80,000 babies are walking around Israel because of the work of Efrat. So the link is in the description below. I highly encourage you to get involved with these guys. And one thing he said that really stuck with me, Christians all over the world support Jews to come back to the nation of Israel. Aliyah. It's probably one of the biggest funded and most supported efforts of the Zionist Christian world out there is to support Jewish people to come back to Israel. It's really, and it's important. And we want to see that happen. And he told me something there at Efrat. He said, you know what? Along with the importance of bringing Jews back, what about helping the Jews that are already here? Aliyah. It brings Aliyah to a whole nother stand. When you allow a baby to be born in Israel, it's very significant. And I was encouraged by that as well, that we can be a part of not only bringing the Jewish people home to the land of Israel from outside of Israel, but also bringing Jewish people home, create families, be a part of bringing a very powerful family unit in Israel here. And with that, Luke, there's a rabbi in Israel who is, I just love him.
He's a friend of ours,
He's a friend of ours.
He's publicly spoken out in support of Hayuvel and our organization.
He's an incredible fellow. You just got to love this
very
guy.
prominent. Prominent rabbi in Israel. Publicly came out in support of pro-life. Quote from an article that he penned, an op-ed that he penned in the media here in Israel, says, quote, do not, and this is Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu. He's the chief rabbi of Sfat in the northern part of Israel, but he's also known, very famous all over Israel. He said, quote, don't listen to these enlightened people who want to take us back 2,000 years to the dark ages of Rome and Greece. You have the right to believe that life is sacred and murder is backward. You have the right to say openly that life is more important than a vacation in the U.S., a new car, or a master's degree. You have the right to believe that murdering a fetus is primitive and backward, not advanced or enlightened. I just think that's awesome that you have an Orthodox Jewish, very prominent rabbi in Israel that's kind of like flipping the whole narrative around, talking about words here. And he's saying, not only should we be against abortion and pro-life, you have the right to choose life. You have the right to be pro-choice and choosing life and choosing your children and choosing your family. And I just
the number
think
one thing
awesome.
You're hearing in America right now is we're going back 100 years. No, we're going back what they're proposing is that is going back 2,000 years to the horrendous times when child sacrifice was just norm. Killing babies was norm. And I love that he brought that up because that's just so, we're not allowed to talk like this, Luke. I don't know if you know that. We're not allowed just to say the blatant truth. And this rabbi is doing that. And we're grateful that he's a strong stance. And we bring this up because it's important for you guys to know that there's a strong value of life in the Orthodox Jewish community. And that's one of the main purposes of this show is to bring about that. This is the positive in this whole thing that we're talking about is that there is a family values,
a family culture,
culture here. That's
and it's
so
really
significant.
like it's something that you realize if you just step foot here. And I realize it the most whenever I go back to America.
Yeah.
As soon as I go back to America, I walk in a grocery store into Walmart, and I just realize like there is not families walking around.
Yeah.
Very few families, couples, and children, and like you don't see like pregnant ladies, which is something you see everywhere here in Israel. Everywhere. And it's like the prophecy from the prophets that says, the children will be running around the streets of Jerusalem again. Like that is literally happening. You just see children everywhere. No matter where you go in Israel, there's children, children, children. Israel has one of the highest birth rates per capita in the world. And they just have such a culture of life. So there is a silver lining, I think, and that's what we're trying to bring. Obviously, we're 100% pro-life, anti-abortion, and we're not diminishing the horrific facts of abortion here in Israel in that it is very prevalent, it is legal, and it is happening, and the liberal agenda is pushing for that even harder. So we're not downplaying all that at all. But we also want to encourage you that there are amazing things, and there is a huge, massive pro-life voice happening here in the land. There's organizations that are fighting for it on a legal level and at a grassroots level, supporting the families. But in Orthodox circles, and the thing is, talking about families and children and birth rates, it's not just Orthodox circles. Like you go to the Orthodox circles and you're talking about 5, 6, 7 10 children plus. In secular circles, they also have like in the U.S., secular circles or any circles, probably 1 to 2 children. Like secular circles in Israel, it's I would say it's like 2 to 4 children, and then in religious circles, it's like 6 to 8 children. But like that's like traditional, just everyday Israelis walking around here. They just have big families, big culture of life. So we want to encourage you with that, and encourage you that with Israel's abortion laws, that's a point for you to praying for the peace of Jerusalem, which involves praying. And like we support and pray for Aliyah, pray for families and children here in Israel, and pray against abortion, and stand with and support and get active, get grassroots. And that's how you support and you stand with Israel. Guys, do not forget to check out Atlas VPN, description in the link below. This sponsor of today's video. If you want to protect yourself on the internet and on all of your devices, massive sale going on right now, $1.99 per month if you sign up for 3 years. Atlas VPN. Make sure you check out the link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit notifications right here on YouTube or wherever you listen or watch us. Get that conversation going down in the comments below. Tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you like that content. We can get it to you every week right there at your fingertips. If you really liked it and have questions, anything, we love comments. Go ahead and leave us a comment as well. If you'd like to even go further, your support would be greatly appreciated. We've got lots of content, lots of ideas that we want to keep pushing out there. If you want to support, you can go to our Patreon page or check us out at theisraelguys.com.